Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca and welcome to my YouTube channel, Rebecca's Wild Side. Today I am back with another podcast episode. If you are a regular viewer, you might have noticed I've been a little bit quiet. That is just because life has been super busy and knitting has kind of taken a step back in my life. But saying that, I do still have finished objects to show you and a couple of whips. Also, I will mention I did search this morning for my camera and I couldn't find it anywhere. That just shows just how quiet I've been with this. I haven't been photographing anything or I haven't been filming anything at all. So I am filming on my iPhone today. So if it sounds different, it will look different. But other than that, yeah, let's get started. So I'll start with where I've been. I've been super busy with life. I can't remember when the last podcast episode was. I want to say it was February. So I didn't do an episode in March and we are now in April. I did go away in March and I got a little bit of knitting done while I was away, but again, I wasn't focused on knitting. And at the end of next week, I am going away for 3 weeks. So I'm going to be out of office for quite a while. I'm going to a very hot climate, so I'm not sure how much knitting I'll be taking with me. I definitely want to take some. I haven't decided what. I did start some summer knits to kind of prepare for that, but I haven't decided. So with that information, this will be the last podcast episode until maybe the end of May, depending on how much knitting I get done. If I don't get anything done in April and the beginning of May, then there's really not much point of me doing a podcast episode. So I will take it as it comes. I'm going to start with some finished objects. So the first one I really don't have to show you because I knitted in about 2 days and I gave it away to my grandmother on Mother's Day, which was all the way back at the beginning of March. English Mother's Day, I know dates differ around the world, but it was the Laulu. I sound really bad trying to pronounce that. It is a triangle shawl pattern by Sari Norlund. It looks like this. This is not the one that I made. The one that I made, I didn't even photograph. That was how much kind of a quick project it was. I did give it away because I am not a shawl girly. I couldn't figure out how to wear it and it was definitely a process knit for me. It's full of cables and fun textured patterns and I just really wanted to do it. I found a little bit of leftover, so it's this beautiful lavender colour. I will insert the colour here because I do have it written down somewhere. I just don't have it on me. And this is the Arwetta, and I did hold it with one strand of Filcolana Alva, but in almost an identical colour to this. So this is just your standard kind of sock yarn, and the Filcolana Alva is 100% alpaca, but it's very fluffy, so it's almost like holding, I don't know, I've never seen another yarn like it, but they are both in this lavender colour. And I made this little shawl for my grandmother and I was really, really happy with how it turned out. I kind of estimated in the fact how much I needed for half, split it in half and knit till halfway and then decreased, similar to what you do with the Sophie shawl. Moving on to my next finished object. It is a Sophie shawl. So, oh no, it's not a Sophie shawl, it's a Sophie scarf. So as I mentioned, I'm not a scarf or shawl wearing person, but I made the trip to Beautiful Knitters in London, which is an amazing little yarn store. Highly recommend. Check it out if you're ever in the area. If you are near Victoria, which is one of the main train stations, it's a 20-minute walk away or a quick tube ride away. Tube ride away in Pimlico. And it's such a great little yarn store. And while I was picking up some extra yarn for a project that I was working on, I saw a Sophie scarf knit up in Fonty, the Angora yarn. I think it's called the Fonty Coeur d'Angora. Oh, I'm really embarrassed with my pronunciation sometimes. But yes, so that was my second finished project. And I do have this one to show you. I haven't photographed it yet, but it's just a really long Sophie scarf-ish with a few modifications because I wanted to make the most of the yarn. I don't know if you can see, I know a lot of people talk about this yarn. It is so fluffy. This is hands down the most incredible yarn ever. So Angora comes from the little Angora rabbits. They don't kill them, they shear them. So yeah, as you can see, I'm not really a scarf wearer, and I haven't worn this since finishing it, mainly because I don't know how to wear it and have it look right. But what I will say, this yarn is super expensive. It is, I paid £16 for, I think it's a 50 gram ball. I don't think it's 25 grams, but now it could be because it's so light. But one ball of this yarn is £16, which is on the more expensive side for yarn. So I only treated myself to one. I just knit up a Sophie, so I split the yarn in half, weighed out, I think it was a 50 gram ball because I weighed out 25 grams twice. And I just knit, holding it single. I started the Sophie scarf, and when I got to the end of the increases, I just knit flat. So instead of, I think the original Sophie scarf is very much like increase, decrease. Mine is increase, straight, decrease. And because I wanted to make the most of the yarn completely, my decrease is a lot longer than my increase, but you would never know when it's wrapped around my neck. Whereas I can show you an example if I fold it in half. Oh my gosh, you can't even notice. That's really weird. It was definitely really noticeable when I knit it. Anyway, this decrease is a lot longer than the increase. But this colour is absolutely stunning. If you can get hold of some of this yarn, I highly recommend just buying one ball and finding like a mini project to do with it, because it is such a different feeling on your hands. Although I will say, I was knitting this in bed and my whole bed was covered in pink fluff for a good week until I changed the bedding. So this colour is 305. There are 2 or 3 pinks which are really similar, but it's coming up a little lighter on the monitor, but it's this super hot pink. It is 80% French traced Angora and 20% Merino wool, and it's just gorgeous. It's so soft, and I just put it on there and actually I think it looked quite good. So I definitely think I still have time to wear it. It's still pretty cool in the UK, or at least where I am. And yeah, there's my little croissant. I know there's a whole thing about rolling it up, but really, I was really excited to knit that up. So that's why that got done. And just the experience of feeling it in my hands and now having it like soft, it's incredible. If I wanted to spend, I would very much consider buying 2 or 3 balls and doing a larger one, because the yarn was just worth it. It's worth the price, in my opinion, especially for something like a scarf, which you're going to have on your neck, or very close to skin. I usually say I'm not too sensitive, but I think I'm more sensitive than I realise, because a lot of my knits don't get worn because I'm quite sensitive to some fibres, I think mainly alpaca, but this doesn't. It is like I can feel it. But I can wear it, I think, without going red, because I scratch sometimes and I go red. So that is my Sophie scarf. A little bit of information about the Sophie scarf. It is a really straightforward pattern by Petite knit. It is garter stitch, so you are knitting both sides, which is really nice, and there is an applied I-cord edge on both sides, which is actually the first time I've done an I-cord edge, and found it super easy, and I thought the result was really beautiful. I think if I was ever to do a headband or something, I'd do an I-cord edge now that I know how to do it. I think that leads me on really nicely to my next project. Yeah, I'll save the big one for last, so stick around. But my next finished object is something that I haven't shown you guys before. I started it just before I went away because I felt it was something I really needed in my wardrobe, and it's kind of a test piece for me. It is a self-drafted wrap. It looks so hard to show off. I always feel like when I show off my pieces, they look rubbish because I'm not very good at showing them off. Especially black's gonna be really hard to show you guys. I will pop it on. Oh, there's a weird weaved in edge there, but it's short sleeves. So I hadn't decided while I was doing it if I was gonna do long or short sleeve. But talking about the I-cord edge, I actually used it on this piece. So it's got this really beautiful finished I-cord edge. And let me put this on to show you guys what I mean. So I left a very small hole here. And I can bring this is the long tie, this is the short tie. Bring it round. I am wearing navy, so don't judge me for wearing navy and black. So this is my little self-drafted fluffy wrap cardigan. So I feel like I got the decrease, increase, actually they were increases. The increase, what is the word? I feel like I got the increase rate correct, because I get a nice amount, like a nice V. It's not too low, not too high. The I-cord edge is, I'm such a fan of this I-cord edge. That is definitely something I will be implementing in the future. It has a 1x1 ribbed band, which I finished with a tubular cast off. And I didn't change needle size when doing the band because I didn't want it to cinch in at all. Like even when I blocked it, I'm always trying to stretch it because it does sometimes go a little bit like short here. And I just added the short sleeves, and I actually added, so I did an I-cord edging on the sleeves because I was really enjoying how it was coming along. It is raglan. So, oh no, it's not. So it's, I should know what this is called, especially since I did it myself. I knit this like square and then raglaned from here down. So it's kind of like that. I will remember what it's called. It begins with a C. I've done it many times. Petite knit does it on a lot of her projects. She does it on the Leon sweater, and she also does it on the poppy tee. I don't love it. And I think there's two reasons why. And I think there's there's one really easy fix, and there is a second kind of reason. The easy fix that I think would be to have long sleeves. I think this, I can't decide because I do like it. I just don't know if I'd wear it with short sleeves. What do you think? I just thought because we're coming into spring, I wanted something that's kind of a bit more versatile and not too hot, because there is a mohair in there. I'll talk about the yarn in a minute. But yeah, I think I'd probably do it with sleeves. And the reason that, I'm going to sit down now. The reason that I decided to self-draft this, or just kind of wing it myself, is because there are 3 or 4 wraps out there, which I think are beautiful. You've got the Levitate wrap by My Favorite Things. You've got, it's not out yet, but the Mabel wrap by Handmade by Florence, which I think is going to be amazing. The Robinson wrap is another one by Handmade by Florence, which is a good, interesting piece. And then the 4th one that I really loved was the Late Summer wrap. I really hope I've got that name right, by Knitting for Olive. But none of those wraps worked with the yarn combination that I wanted to use. So the yarn combination for this piece, this is actually knit in Drops Kid Silk and Drops Daisy. Drops Daisy is their 100% merino kind of DK weight yarn, and Drops Kid Silk is their mohair and silk, both in the darkest colors, black. And it is a thick material. I knit it on 5mm needles, so it's a bigger gauge, which is really nice. And because there is so much material, I think I probably could have made the Levitate wrap with it. I think it would have measured up okay. And maybe the construction would have been better, obviously done by a professional, not me, who is not an incredibly, I'm not a designer, and I don't know all of the techniques, but yeah, it's very fluffy. It is a tiny bit itchy, and I think that's the mohair. The Drops Kid Silk isn't the best mohair. It is super affordable. And the Drops Daisy is also affordable, but I found the Drops Daisy very soft, as most merino yarns are for me. So I think because if it was a finer material, it would have been more fitted and had a different look, which I don't know if that's what I was originally going for. But I also really like how cozy it is, which is why I think it should have longer sleeves. So I definitely might consider going back and adding a long sleeve on this. So it's really a warm, cozy wrap. It did grow massively in blocking, and that is something I want to touch on before I get started on my final finished object. So recently I have been doing gauge swatches, which is great, really happy about it. And I've been knitting my gauge swatches, washing my gauge swatches and measuring them, and I have been meeting gauge. And then I have been knitting up my projects and actually really liking how they look before blocking them. The next one has cables, so obviously a block is really important to open up those cables. And I'm finding, and I think it's because of the weight of the project, when I am blocking a swatch that's this big, it's growing the right amount for the swatch. And I can't quite understand is when I'm washing these larger garments and blocking them, they are growing massively, like to an extent where they're growing much more than the gauge swatch, which is obviously an issue. And I'm trying to find ways around it. I'm not putting anything in the washing machine, so they're not getting like stretched. I'm just washing it, and it's like when I pull them up with the weight of the water, they just grow massively. And maybe I'm just overthinking it, or maybe I'm just being whiny, but it's really upsetting me at the moment. Especially these like pieces with mohair, which are just, they're costing a lot to make and they're just not fitting as intended. I am always knitting the smallest size anyway. I'm not always really supposed to be the smallest size, but it's just an instinct now. I have to do it because I know that my pieces are going to grow. Now, I know that I've got to combat this and I've got to go down a needle size. That's like number one. I can't go down a clothing size, or I can't go down a design size because I'm already knitting the smallest one. And I am someone who doesn't wear massively oversized pieces anyway. Yes, some cozy pieces, absolutely, but a lot of these hand knits that I'm putting a lot of time and effort into, I want them to be with a little bit less positive ease. But I understand there are positive ease, that there has to be positive ease in a lot of knits to get the look. But yeah, it's just, I think I'm gonna have to consider going down needle sizes for knitting. And it's just frustrating to me that I did start gauge swatching and it's still not making sense because my gauge swatch isn't growing. And I'm sure it's because of the weight of the pieces. I would love to know if you've experienced this. Yeah, it's tough, but maybe I'm just over exaggerating and freaking out. But I'm going to show you my prime example with what was supposed to be my pride and joy. So this is my final finished object to show you guys in this episode. This is my Moby Slipover. Please excuse the fold line. I have ironed it and everything, but I folded it and that's why it's got the fold line. Now it looks very short. It definitely grew that way. So it got squished that way, but it's fine. This was turning up absolutely beautifully as I was knitting it up. And it is beautiful, it's a beautiful piece. I'm gonna put it on for you. Piece. And I know that this is a bit more oversized because that's how Petite Knit designed it, but even seeing it on her, she is so small. She's a very slender lady, and it just doesn't look massive on her, but I feel like it looks massive on me. I don't know. I'll explain when this is okay. I'll explain my biggest pet peeve with this. My biggest issue with this was I followed the pattern exactly to the point where it says at the bottom of the pattern, do a 1x1 rib to finish off. And I read it 3 times and it did not say go down a needle size. And if I ever make it again, I would go down a needle size because it goes like this. Oh my gosh, that fold's really annoying. I'm just so like, why does it do this? And the end just flares out, it massively flares out. I know I should redo it and I will redo it when I get time. So to combat this massive growing of it, I tuck it in like this. And I think it looks so cool. I do love it. Like, it's such a cool piece. I had so much fun making this. I could not put it down. It is a faux cable for the front, some broken rib, a nice big small cable down the side. I did a folded neckband and I also did folded armbands, and as you can see they're a little bit puffy, but I finished it this way first and I did not want this issue on the sleeves, which is why I folded them. I think if I really go back and redo this piece, I'll be doing double knitting on the sides. And then it's got this moss stitch under the arms. Yeah. So it is short, it is cropped. Everything of mine is cropped, but it fits into my high-waisted jeans like this, and I think that's cool. If it had been like this, I'm taking out a lot of material. This would be way more my style. It's just how I like to wear things. As you can see, there's a lot of extra material. So there's very little like complaints about the pattern, other than the fact I do think you should have gone down a needle size for the ribbing. And you normally do, so I don't understand why you didn't in this piece. Don't know, maybe because this was supposed to grow so much that it would like straighten out. I don't know. But yeah, overall pattern super easy to follow. I was really nervous, and then after like one repeat, I could read the pattern from what I'd already knit and knit it without the graph. So really loved it. This is knit up in Knitting for Olive Merino and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in Ice Blue, both colours, 1 strand of each. And oh no, I lied, it's not 1 strand of each, it is 2 strands of Merino, 1 strand of Soft Silk Mohair, because it's a worsted weight project. I'm trying to think what else I have to say about it. Love the colour. Almost ruined it because I ironed these down at the end and my iron had something yellow on it. But you can't see it because I blotted it out instantly and it came out. And also, thank God, with the mohair, I like pulled some of the mohair out and the yellow came off with it. So got very lucky there. Overall, love the neckline, love the fit. I'm trying to think if I got the correct number of stitches on the neckline, because that is another thing I've been struggling with. I've been struggling with if I pick up the number of stitches that are usually suggested, it is way too big. But I think this pattern I followed completely to pattern and it was correct. And yeah, it's super cute. I really love it. I love this yarn. If you watched my podcasts, you will have heard me talking very badly about this yarn a few episodes ago because I was not being nice. And then I think when you knit textured knits with this yarn, it's like my favorite yarn now. So that is a good thing. I will be making a lot more with Knitting for Olive. Again, if you're a follower, I had mentioned several times that I was supposed to be going to Copenhagen in March to pick up more yarn, but for something else. That actually didn't go ahead. So I'm going in June anyway for a family event. I'm going to be in Copenhagen, so I will pick up lots of yarn then. But yes, if you're wondering, that little excursion didn't happen. So I don't have anything new to show you this week, acquisitions wise. As I mentioned, it's a petite knit pattern. If you want to start, if you want to knit something really impressive, but you still want something easy enough, I highly recommend it. It's not hard to do at all, especially if you have at least done cables before. It's a really straightforward cable, and the faux cables, super easy to do. You knit in the front and back and then join in the round and knit it in the round. That was really cool to learn both of those techniques, to do it on the front and the back. Yeah, love it. So I do wear it. I'm just sad that it didn't turn out as I exactly imagined, but that's common with knitting, so I'm going to keep it on for now. I raced through those really quickly. I am on a time, I'm in a rush today because I have got to be somewhere in 20 minutes. So let's go through my whips. I'm going to start with the big one. This is something you've all seen. It's still on the needles, but I'm working on it. That's why in my head, I thought I'd be done in like a few weeks with this. This will not, I don't think this will be done for the rest of this season. I think this is going to be a fall finished object, like to wear. But it is my Braemar Sweater by Coeur and More Knitwear. So last time I showed you, I think I'd started the colour work, but I definitely hadn't finished the sleeve because I finished the sleeve last night. So yeah, here is the sleeve. It's this such a cool V-neck textured piece. Now, please take into consideration, okay, let me sort out this. I've got it on a wire, hence why it's making a funny shape. There we go. It's a bit better. Take into consideration, this is going to change massively with blocking. First of all, I think this is going to grow the most out of anything I have ever knit with blocking, because it does stress in the pattern, and it's very clear to see that this waffle knit, it's not a waffle knit, it is like slip stitches and a couple of purl stitches in there. This is gonna grow massively. I think it's gonna grow outwards rather than longwards, but I've also accounted for it growing longwards. I don't care if it's like down here. So it's drop shoulder, v-neck, big oversized comfy jumper. As you can see, I've started, no, all good. As you can see, I've started on the second sleeve. It's really starting to come together. It's so comfy. This is like one of my, I'm so excited to do this. I'm so excited to wear this and finish this. I am gonna run out of yarn. I have come to the absolute, like, I've been trying to work it out, and I'm on my final ball of this color mohair, and I have one ball of merino in that color, and then I have 2 balls of this dark color. So I'm definitely gonna need more of this color because it doesn't even cover my boobs yet, and I want it to be a long piece. This isn't going to be cropped. I'll say that, watch me crop it. No, I'm going to try and not crop this. Yes, so I will not be picking up this yarn until I go to Copenhagen, because even when I went to London to beautiful knitters who have Knitting for Olive, they are sold out of the Dusty Dove Blue. And I think that is thanks to the Coeur and Handmade by Florence, because they are both knitting projects in this Dusty Dove Blue. So I think that's been a very popular colour. It is a beautiful colour. It's like a perfect denim colour. This is the first time I've put it on since starting the second sleeve, and it's so cool. I love this pattern. Found this pattern completely randomly. Love the slip stitch kind of, it's really squishy waffle texture. I will say, I have been working on this for a very long time. I need to Google when, but several months now, and it's just not growing. And that is, I've come to the decision, that is because of the slip stitch. Of course, instead of rowing every 4 knit rows, I'm kind of knitting 2, I think. So yeah, it's taking a long time to grow. Let's talk about my decreases, because here they are. They are a standard like taper decrease, and then I decreased rapidly at the bottom because it looks better, I think. It was too big, it was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, I tapered quickly at the bottom, but you can see my decreases. You can see this like seam. There is a way of combating that, and it is in the pattern. She does tell you how to decrease invisibly, and I didn't do it because I just started doing like this, and I don't mind. I actually quite like that I can see. I don't know why, I quite like that I can see where the decreases are, and it is under the body, so you wouldn't notice it too much. I'm gonna sit down again and take this off. I don't mind being able to see the decreases. I actually think it gives it a little bit of like a homemade vibe. It is drop shoulder. You knit I don't knit many drop shoulders, but I think it's your typical drop shoulder. Like you knit the front, you knit the back, you knit the front, you join in the round, you then pick up stitches for the sleeves. What I did do, which is not in the pattern, so a modification that I made, shock. No, it is in the pattern. It is a twisted rib. There we go. I did a twisted rib for the finish. Also, something I noticed in the pattern, I did add the sudden decreases here because that's what I wanted. There isn't this line in the pattern, so I started the twisted rib at a point where I didn't really realize that I had the line. I would have omitted it. I would have taken it out if I'd have thought it through, but it's really not that noticeable for me. And again, gives it a bit of like a structure. This is the end of the sleeve. I don't know. Not a problem, but I'm almost positive that that is not in the original pattern. Yeah, I did twisted rib. And then I actually just cast off standard in your twisted rib. So knit one through the back loop, purl one through the back loop, pull the first stitch over the second stitch, repeat. So in pattern, which is, I'm really glad I did it, because I think I scared myself a little bit with the Moby pullover and the Italian bind off. It's just not, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. So I just stuck with a tight, like I held it really tight, and I knew it was gonna be big enough anyway because it's quite oversized. And yeah, really excited about this. I talk about it every time. It is a little bit frustrating, and it does get pushed to the side a little bit because of how time consuming it is. But overall, really happy. I didn't mention the colours, so it is Knitting for Olive Merino and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in both colours. This colour is Dusty Dove Blue, and my contrast colour is Dusty Whale Blue and Whale Blue. So I don't know why one of them's dusty and one of them's not, but they are the matching colours. And love it. I will definitely consider adapting this pattern to make more things out of it. But as I mentioned, I need more yarn. I'm going to do what I can, but I definitely need more yarn for this. So it might have to wait until June when I go to Copenhagen to pick it up. And they will be different lot colours, dye lots, because it's been a year since I bought the yarn. But because it's colour work, I don't think you'll notice at all. So fingers crossed, I think that's going to be really good. Also, this is inside out, but the second half is knit in a completely different dye lot from 2 different countries. And you would never know. So fingers crossed that Knitting for Olive is really good with their dye lots. Yeah. That is it for my works in progress. Only the one, but I am going to focus on it, and I am going to work really hard on it. There are a couple of things I want to cast on, a couple of summer knits, because it's starting to get a bit warmer and a bit brighter here. But as I said, I haven't been knitting as much as I thought I would, or as much as I usually do. Knitting plans going forward. The Lauder pattern has been released by Rebecca Clow, the Crea Bear, which I'm so excited about. So I've been waiting for this pattern for a long time. I've been talking about it since the beginning of the year. And it is an all over cabled mega pattern. So it comes in vest, cardigan, pullover, and all 3 of those patterns come in either a V-neck or a round neck. So I was pretty sold on doing the V-neck cabled jumper, but now I'm considering maybe not. I might do the cardigan. I'm not going to do a vest because I've done my Moby vest. I'm considering either doing a cardigan, a V-neck cardigan, no, round neck cardigan, because somebody did one. I saw this on Instagram. She was the first person. She was in the test knit, and she was one of the first people to do this pattern, and I saw it and I absolutely fell in love with it. So that is an option. The other option is the V-neck cardigan, or V-neck pullover. But then again, I do think a round neck pullover would be a lot more wearable. Yeah, we will just see when the time comes. But I have 2 yarn options for that. One that I really want to do, but I don't know if I want to save it for something else. This is my Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino and Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the colour Ballerina. They are so pretty. It's this really pale pink. I've had this yarn for a while, and that is like the front running option for this, but I don't know what else. I don't know if there's something else I'd want to make with this. And then my other option I have is Drops Extra Fine Merino, which is a DK yarn held with a Drops Kid Silk in light grey. They are slightly different, but I think they will come together. And this is kind of a marled yarn, so they'll come together to make a really beautiful combo. But yeah, I can't decide if I want a grey one or a pink one. I think because it's spring and I'm into pink, I think pink's gonna be my colour. Pale pink, even though I just did a hot pink scarf. But I think pale pink's gonna be a real colour this year. So leaning towards that, but it's just scary using such an expensive yarn purchase on a project that you just don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't have any acquisitions to show you, so I don't have any yarn acquisitions to show you, and that is because I used them in my Sophie scarf, and the other one was just like extra yarn that I needed to finish that Moby pullover. And I just haven't bought any yarn because my knitting hasn't been at the forefront of my life at the moment. But as I'm filming this video, it's actually my birthday. I don't know if that's sad that I'm filming on my birthday, but it's what I wanted to do. So as it's my birthday, you won't be seeing this on my birthday because I won't have it edited in time. But as it's my birthday month, I treated myself to some books. Yeah, so I was in London and I had some time to kill for breakfast, so I went to Waterstones and I thought, oh, why don't I look at knitting books in Waterstones, thinking that they wouldn't have many, and they had loads in the big one in Piccadilly, so that was really exciting. So I sat in there and went through like all the books because I had so much time to kill and it was amazing. And I actually found these two that I love the most, so I treated myself to them. The first one is a new book, which I'm surprised that they had, because I thought that like the publishers held on to them for ages before releasing them, but maybe, well, I guess it's 2023 and now it's 2024, so maybe it's just come in. Knitting for Olive book, which is super exciting. I own one pattern from Knitting for Olive and it's not in the book, so that's fun. And I love their patterns. They are so classic and timeless, and those twins who knit so many of them, and their knits look just amazing. So I'm so inspired to knit them. I also know the gauges pretty well because I've worked with Knitting for Olive yarn and I kind of know the equivalents, and I like working with Knitting for Olive. So yeah, this is the book. There are a couple of patterns in here that I'm super excited to do. One is the Chrysler tank, which is a tank top. It's a ribbed tank top with, I don't know if it has bust shaping, but it has bust like accentuation. And yeah, super excited to knit that. And then this beautiful one on the cover is in there as well, and that's gorgeous. So there are 20 knits in here, which, yes, it's an expensive book. Yes, there are more patterns in other knitting books, but this is very much my vibe, and super excited to go through some of those. And then the second book I bought is, so recently you will have seen I bought the first edition of 52 Weeks of Socks, and I really liked how the book was laid out. As much as I'm not a sock knitter, I really enjoyed the patterns in there, and I found 52 weeks of easy knitting. Now it says easy knitting, they are easy knits, but then by no means basic. There are some really fun, like really fun pieces in here. One of them, I don't know how to show you with that. I don't know if I can show you these. I'm gonna insert photos. One is called the Diamond Twill vest, which is super cute. It's a textured vest. And then there are some really cool color work pieces in here. And yeah, I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna have to go. But there is all sorts in here. So there are a couple of accessories, loads of pullovers. Yeah. I don't know if there's any bottoms in here. I can't quite tell if there's any bottoms in here, but I don't knit bottoms very often anyway. So yeah, by Lane, this one's really exciting as well. This has 52 patterns in it, and the book was £20. So do the maths. Seems like a really, really good, and I liked 85% of the patterns in here, which I think is really important. So make sure you check, because I made that mistake with the socks. There was like, I really like the layout of the book, but there was only 3 pairs of socks in there that I thought I would actually wear and knit. So yeah, that is all I've got for you today. Thank you for joining me, coming back. I'm gonna see what I can get done in the next month. There's not going to be a podcast episode for the rest of April, apart from this one, and there won't be anything at the beginning of May, but I will see you hopefully at the end of May, at the start of summer, and hopefully we'll have started some summer knits by then. As usual, it would really benefit me if you guys gave this video a like, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. I will see you next time. Bye guys.